Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by lineups.com. Nate and Josh coming to you on a Tuesday here with just 4 games in the association. No teams on a back-to-back, though, so plenty of stuff to look at. We've got best bets, player props, both in this episode, so make sure you are following along and subscribe to that channel, bringing you this one episode each and every weekday moving forward. Let's go ahead and get into your first best bet of the night here, Nate. We're talking about Philly in Memphis, and you'd like them to win on the road here.
Yeah, I really like the number or lack thereof here for the Sixers, who I definitely think is the better team, especially with Joel Embiid unlikely to play, which is always a plus when you back the Sixers. But really, it's been a tough schedule spot for the Sixers lately. And coming off at OKC, and the game before that, they lose in Chicago. They had several guys listed on the injury report. And I mean, I don't know if it's flu, if it's this cold, you can hear my voice right now, but a lot of stuff sweeping through locker rooms right now. So when you see multiple guys listed sick, you got to wonder who's still under the weather, who had it, who's just not up to full speed. But now those guys are off the injury report in terms of VJ and Quentin Grimes, and I like that lineup, that small ball lineup against Memphis. I like the Sixers when they're favorites, 5-1 straight up this year as a road favorite, winning by 10 points per game, 12-4 straight up as a favorite, and 9-4 straight up after a loss. Just played OKC. That could go two ways, right? I mean, it's like, oh, they're banged up because it's such a tough physical game. It's also like you just played the highest level basketball, and now you're playing one of the worst teams in the Western Conference who has a ton of guys out. Most importantly, Zach Edey. In this matchup, KCP could be pretty important because Wells and Coward are a little too big, a little too slow to deal with the VJ Max backcourt. And I think on the other end, the Sixers are well positioned defensively to deal with the only thing Memphis is really doing well offensively, which is playing through Triple J and Aldama. And Sixers with Barlow and PG are match up really well. They're very good defensively against the small forward, if you just look at it that way. Also, like, this is projected to be a close game. The Sixers have played the second most clutch minutes in the NBA, and they are sixth best in net rating, plus 14.5. Memphis is 11th on the season. Pretty good, right? With Ja Morant, they are 24th, or just this month. Ja individually is negative 31 net with a 90 offensive rating, dragging them all the way down to a 102 offensive rating in December. Just absolutely abysmal stuff from the man who does not want to be there, who does not want to play for Memphis. So how are you going to take them to vibe off the home crowd down the stretch if this is close?
Yeah, there's not really the same grit and grime home court advantage that we've seen Memphis have in the past. Right now, I would agree, because that was predicated on suffocating defense and transition, and Ja's still just not quite Ja right now, and he's not necessarily getting the minutes. We'll see if he does get the minutes in this one, but such a thin rotation. I do like the way that Philly matches up with them. And then in this game in Utah, you got to go points, man. Like this has been as high as like 253.5 when they're playing obviously faster paced teams than the Celtics. But I just think that the Jazz at home overrides pretty much anything, because the other team can just get what they want. And as we know, the key for the Celtics this year and last year and the last couple of years is the 3-point line, and this is the worst 3-point defense in the league. I think Washington wants to give them a run for their money as well, but pick your night between one of these three bottom feeders in terms of defense, and the key stats are the paint and the 3-point line. And that's what we're talking about here for a Celtics team that still takes the highest percentage of its shots from there. Doesn't have the same lethal arsenal necessarily, but this is a good game for shooters, and that's what Derek White and Payton Pritchard do, man. And I think that Anthony Simons is going to come in and have a pretty good game. I think Josh Minott is going to come in off the bench and have it it's going to be like rangy athletes, and it's going to be the shooters that really dominate. For Utah, their games at home, just as a reminder, it hasn't gotten better since I've been talking about this. I feel like I've taken 3 straight overs in Utah for a reason. I'm pretty sure all 3 of those hit. But when they're at home here, we're talking about a 253. I'm doing my math right here. Nope, I'm doing it wrong. It's 254.3 points per game at home for the Utah Jazz. And that's just a consistent over for them. And this, like I said, this over has when they're at home and their spread is super high, or their total is super high like it is, they're actually around 500 in terms of the over at home. But like I said, we've seen way higher totals than 241.5 for Utah when they're playing at home. And everybody's going to be out there for them. I think Keontae George is questionable, and that would put a bit of a damper in this. But then we just get Isaiah Collier, who plays at the fastest pace for them. So I'm still liking overs on both sides here.
Yeah, and Collier don't play a lick of defense, man. So yeah, love that if Keontae's out.
Or he goes for steals and then they foul and then he sends the other team to the line.
Mm-hmm. Or if Keontae's out, maybe you just want to pivot to like Celtics team total, Celtics to cover. There's going to be some get back here. Celtics, did they lose to Utah?
They
Yeah.
lost at home by 2. Yep.
A low scoring home loss. I mean, since then, they've just been crushing bad teams, like absolutely nothing. So they might play at a slow pace, but they might score damn near every time down the floor against this bad defense. Lakers hosting the Pistons. I do like over here. I think if it goes over, when Detroit, when it rains, it pours, when they start scoring and when their defense is not as good on the road. So it could go way over. But I will say I like some SGP options in terms of just like Cade to get 40 PA, Luka to get 45 PRA, that type of thing, get you near even money, however you want to play it. Because I just think both these ball dominant guards are going to have a lot of success against the opposing defense. For the Lakers, you don't have Rui, who would be huge defensively. Gabe Vincent would do a little defensive work. And you don't have AR, which, hurts a little bit, but Luka has just stepped up big time when there's no AR. LeBron will help push that pace a little bit. Luka has torched this Detroit defense, even when they've been good in their last few meetings. He's averaging 42 a game, shooting 60% from the floor. And then the Lakers defense is just like what you're hanging your hat on here as far as it over. Talked about it going into Christmas, like LeBron with a 124 defensive rating since returning. Their games at home have averaged 250. They've allowed 66 a game in the first half in their last 10 with LeBron back. And sure enough, they gave up about 120 to Houston, 68 paint points. Couldn't quite match points against that Houston defense. And Detroit's defense is good, but again, home road stuff, like they're about like 102 at home defensive rating. They're about like 117 on the road this month. Just gave up big totals to the Kings and Jazz. So I don't know if they're going to be as locked in defensively. And I mean, Luka will just crack any defense.
Yeah, LeBron has a great history against Detroit too. He crushes Detroit over the last 3 seasons. I'm not necessarily using that because it's a different LeBron, different situation, different Pistons team even. But I do agree on the road here at this road trip. Like I don't think we're going to see the same Pistons defense that we've seen at other times, and this is a good spot to go over. I think the Lakers look good enough. They're not going to have Reeves or Rui in this one. I don't know really how that's going to impact. The offense will be fine. It's still Luka centric. It's fine. It's just I do think they're going to need a couple other guys to come in and score. And one of those guys might be Nick Smith Jr. Coming in and has been really, really good off the bench because Dalton Connect has not been that for them. So looking at this Clippers game, man, if you just saw the last 4 games of the season, you'd be like, wow, the Clippers are really good. Look at them. They're beating the Rockets by 20. They handled Portland. They handled Detroit. They just beat this Lakers team by 15 by holding them to 88 points. They look awesome. They've got a plus 10 net rating. That would just obviously be a very short-sighted view, but like that's how good they've been as of late. And obviously there's a correlation to Kawhi Leonard being available. There's also some sort of like Ty Lue's been fed up with certain guys, and now we're seeing a lot more Nick Batum. Chris Dunn is going to continue to be a staple for them on defense as well. But the key here for them is they've already been like way better at home because they're so bad on the road. 4-13 on the season straight up on the road here, losing games by an average of 6.5 points when they're playing away from don't even remember what it's called, Spectrum something, right? Big
Intuit Dome.
Intuit, there we go. One of them. So either way, when they're playing here, they've already looked better. Now we're getting a Kings team that's like, what do you want me to say? All right, in these last 5, you're talking about the top net rated team for the Clippers. The Kings are bottom 6, and that's where they live. There's really no reason to believe that their offensive rating is going to go up in any way, shape, or form. Zach LaVine is not coming back for tonight's game. I don't believe he's still listed out. So we're still going to see a lot of the ball in DeMar's hands. But that's also meant that like we've also seen the ball in Westbrook's hands. And now the third guard is like Keon Ellis. There's just really no scoring's not coming from anywhere else. There's no cohesion to the team. Their assists are down, and when they get assists, they're super hollow and really pointless, and which is what we've seen from DeMar teams pretty consistently. So there's just no cohesion. I have no problem with a 9.5 point spread for a team that's been winning by an average of like 15.5 points over its last 4 games.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Kings team total 105. If it was any higher, you'd be all over the under here, the way the Clippers have been playing defense. They have Derek Jones Jr. back. That's huge as he kind of ramps up. So I'm totally with you. In fact, to the extent that I think it's kind of a semi-night off for Kawhi after he carries the load, 55 points, 43 field goals plus free throw attempts, 45% usage. Just an all-time performance against Detroit. Prior to that, big outputs, big usage against Houston, Lakers, Portland, teams that they needed him to step up. Now you just get a lame duck team that's lost 9 of their last 10 by double digits when they don't have Keegan Murray, who I don't think you mentioned. He might not go, right? I mean, is he still second in the league in minutes per game because he's been so important to the Kings to have any sort of big wing out there other than Meek Clifford, and now you have Maxime, your boy, Reno, down low, who's probably just going to get thrown around by the skeleton of Brook Lopez. So I think this is a situation where Kawhi can take a little bit of a breather. For what it's worth, his last 3 against Sacramento has not been super productive, 22 points per game in 40 minutes when he has played a ton. It might be because Sac is so bad against the pick and roll and has been for the last couple seasons that James Harden might have a bit of a field day. And he might be able to get in there, spray the ball out to some of these other guys like Batum and DJ who are trying to get their shots up, after watching Kawhi just go to work. So I think the wings will be up in support. I like Brook Lopez because of his individual matchup. And I like the Clips to roll potentially, but I mean, you can tease it down to this under the most common score of 5 points, and you're still getting big time plus money with a negative correlation.
Yeah, it's a good negative correlation there. So let's go to the other LA team and back to that Detroit Lakers game. DeAndre Ayton, there's just nobody else doing what he's doing, right? And so when I see him playing with Luka and LeBron, I know he's going to be out there for at least 30, and I think that's a pretty conservative projection for his minutes in this one. With really, I mean, you don't really want much Jackson Hayes out there. You don't have Rui now, and you don't have Reeves, which means he's basically, he's the third guy on the offense there. We know LeBron has been pretty passive. The last 3 games, LeBron has been scoring a bit more. That has taken a bit away from DA. But the key here for me with the matchup is just like, this is a slightly depressed line because the Pistons have been so good against centers. But look closely at where the Pistons are good against centers. It's at the rim. They play that drop defense, beef stew, Jalen Duren. They're going to drop all the way down and do everything they can to protect inside 5 feet. DeAndre Ayton's shooting just as many shots from the extended paint area and the mid-range combined as he is down next to the basket. And by the way, just in case you were wondering, he has not risen in his attempts from the free throw line for DeAndre Ayton because he keeps going from further away. I'm actually okay with that against this squad who really limits offensive rebounds and limits putbacks, but that's not really DA's game. It can be when he's playing against smaller guys, but that's not going to be the case in this one. So I do like him to be the beneficiary of like some pretty open little bunnies from anywhere from like 6 to like 12 feet in the mid-range and that sort of thing out to the foul line. I think DA is going to have a good enough shot attempts here. This is just a little bit low because he's been going down a little bit, but now I just think with the rotation, with the lack of, like I said, Rui as well, there's more shots for DeAndre.
Yeah, you didn't even mention Austin. Without Austin Reeves, I don't know if you looked this up, he's averaging 1.5 points per minute this year, 19 points per game. So yeah, this number seems really low given the fact that he's got 2 pick and roll ball handlers who are just going to try to feed him for those pick and pops to get their assists off that. Payton Pritchard, and the core line here is 17.5 against Utah. I think we can go ahead and fire an alt at 1.5 times your money because Utah is abysmal defensively, as we mentioned, some of that stuff. If Keontae George isn't full strength or he doesn't play, you get Isaiah Collier, who has a 125 defensive rating on the season. Kind of a big reason that lately the Jazz are giving up the second most fantasy points to point guards. A lot of that on assists, assisted threes, whether Pritch is the point guard or not really that relevant. What is relevant is they're the 3rd worst above the break defense. Utah is, and they're allowing a league worst 42% on above the break threes in their last 10. Also bottom 5 in the mid range against rim attacks, right? I mean, they have no rim protection. The last few matchups for Pritch have been tough in terms of getting those shots off from the perimeter, Portland and Indiana, but we saw him get in his bag with the low post mid-range stuff against Indy, still get a ton of points there. And prior to this dud shooting at Portland, he was averaging 25 a game, shooting 40% from deep on the road in his previous 6. He's implied minus 175 to hit at least 3 threes here. So there's no value in like adding the threes. I was trying to toggle that and see if I could get like 15 points with the threes. Books actually just are saying he's pretty much a lock for 3 threes. And I think he has a well-rounded enough game that he's going to get up to about 20 points.
Yeah, no, that's fair. This is spot up shooting kind of night. I mean, I'm sure Jaylen Brown will be able to carve through the defense as well. His stuff's super high, but there will be plenty of kickouts, and Pritchard should have the ball in his hands a good amount too with this one. Just a great matchup all around. I don't have a difference between him and like Derek White in this game, but like both of them really to get like a lot of 20-point for these guys. And the blowout isn't necessarily imminent, but yeah, you do want to just keep an eye on it. But Triple J going up in a not awesome matchup. Obviously, Philly's always going to be pretty good against centers when they're throwing out Joel and then backing him up with another 7-footer and Drummond and some pretty good forward play, which you've spoken about already as well with Barlow and PG as well. But like for Triple J right now, there's just, I mean, if Jock Landale doesn't go, this might go up to like 21 and a half. I don't know if he is or not, to be honest, but I think even if he does, 19 and a half is fine because he's still in line for 30 minutes. And if Jock does not go and this thing does stay close, which the spread indicates it's like a 1-point spread, then he should be going for like 32 to 34. And you get a few more minutes there rather than the 30 that he plays. They've actually been blowing teams out or getting blown out recently for Memphis. So that has impacted minutes for guys. But Ja's been back and Jaren Jackson Jr. has still been getting a ton of shots off because, like I said, there's no other center. He went off against Washington. I thought it was going to be Santi in that game. Santi did take the second most shots. He just missed almost all of them, including a couple free throws, which really hurt. But for Triple J, like the 19 and a half is about 2 to 3 points lower than what his projection has been at and what most of his lines have been at over the last 3. And I just don't care that Jock might come in and play like 20 minutes and take some time away from not only him, but like more importantly, probably taking minutes away from Santi, in which case like Jaren, this number is being kept low by this like questionable tag of the backup center. I still think Jaren Jackson's good for, like I said, at least 30 and he could see as high as 34, 36. So love 19 and a half in the situation.
Yeah, he's all they got right now, basically, because Ja is not giving the full effort or very locked in. So that's part of the reason I like the Sixers is because I'm like, sure, if Jaren Jackson wants to be out there doing high usage stuff, like I like our chances on the other end. So yeah, I'm fine with this too.
Absolutely. Yeah. But that is all the time we have for you in this one. Going to be back with a 9-game slate here on Wednesday. So make sure you are locked in, subscribe to the channel, and continue to follow along until we do see you next. Happy betting.